What's your objective? What's your ultimate objective?
Ethan Hunt is back. Watch on the edge of your seat as director Christopher McQuarrie captures Tom Cruise's latest aborted suicide attempts on camera, then works them into another stunningly coherent action movie. After a Bond movie-like setup with a submarine, Ethan Hunt discovers that a dastardly AI called the Entity, which has a snarky sense of humor, poses an existential threat to humanity. In order to stop the Entity, Ethan must, once again, be disavowed, go rogue, and track down some weird key thing, which looks like the MacGuffin from a steampunk computer game. To achieve this goal, Ethan and his team ruin the life of Haley Atwell's pickpocket, Grace, all while being chased themselves by a crack team of US secret agents who couldn't catch a cold. When a man from Ethan's past who feels like a blend of different bad guys from a few movies ago emerges from the digital gloom, Ethan realizes that he's likely in a penultimate installment for the franchise and freaks out, with the looming threat of a digital god predicting their every move. Ethan and the gang proceed to pad out the runtime with existential dialogue and comedy action sequences, all while on a collision course with giving the audience a damn good time at the cinema. What can you really say about a Mission Impossible film? A franchise engine so finely tuned to high-octane fantasy espionage and action thriller revs that it becomes a matter of degrees as to which one of them is slightly better than the other. Personally, I do think that Mission Impossibles 3 and Fallout are the best examples of the series, while my personal favourite is one of the franchise's weaker installments, Mission Impossible 2. What can I say? I'm a sucker for John Woo and Thandie Newton. But they are all truly thrilling and inventively entertaining. Mission Impossible 7, or 6.5, Dead Reckoning Part 1, is no exception. The setups have a racing heartbeat, the action feels full of genuine peril, the comedy is light enough to add levity without turning the film into a sitcom, like the MCU for example, and while it is all utter nonsense, there is enough earnestness in the delivery to allow you to believe that it has weight while you're sat watching it. All of this amounts to a respect for the audience's intelligence that has made the franchise so successful. That being said, Dead Reckoning Part 1 has its admittedly minor issues. Its near 3-hour runtime feels a tad long in places, and much of the action scenes are filled out with more comedy beats than usual, while some of the expositional dialogue about the existential threat of godlike AI veers into Matrix 2 levels of philosophical gibberish. The unseen threat of the Entity itself makes for an intriguing villain, but is mostly represented by Esai Morales Gabriel, who is the Entity's high priest acolyte and man from Ethan's past. Gabriel feels like a bit of a rehash of Mission Impossible villains of old, with shades of Javier Bardem's character in Skyfall thrown in for good measure, but not as solid as any of them. Morales' performance is fine, but the character feels like a bit of an underdeveloped afterthought screenplay-wise. I'm also a bit on the fence about the two main agents sent to track Hunt and his team down. They seem like they're in a buddy-buddy cop movie of their own called The Spies Who Can't Shoot Straight. And I'm not sure if they're being set up for something bigger in the next film, or a spin-off, or Christopher McQuarrie just forgot they were there. But they feel like an odd choice, fun though they are. I really enjoyed all the callbacks, which seem to be setting up for something significant in the next film. Henry Czerny's smug, unspecified government agent Kittredge is the same morally complex middle management with more importance than seems obvious character he played in the first Mission Impossible film. His presence gives the impression of a greater sense of genuine conclusion on the horizon. Haley Atwell's Grace is a mirror of Thandie Newton's character in Mission Impossible 2, a skilled thief and confidence trickster who finds herself in the wrong con at the wrong time and is forced to make difficult moral choices based on world-changing events she's given no time to really understand. Vanessa Kirby returns as the White Widow, the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave's Max from the first film, and her presence on the big train finale is another callback, as is the train sequence itself. Kirby, since her character's introduction in Fallout, has given the White Widow an intriguingly impenetrable persona, which is impressive enough in itself, but then pulls double duty when a character does the rubber mask trick on her character. Kirby has to play someone else playing her, which shows that she has quite the range. In fact, not since Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Tom Cruise playing him have I seen the trick so well done based off of acting alone. Pom Clementief's hench villain brings most of the real bad guy thrills and sense of threat, and she plays it with all the glee of a demented escapee from the John Wick franchise. There are some interesting things about The Entity, which feel inspired by a brilliant TV show called Person of Interest, along with elements of the 90s anime film Ghost in the Shell. Both sets of these themes will likely be explored more in Part 2, so I won't elaborate too much at this point. The setup for the threat of this godlike being also has the physical presence of a digital eye that feels like a nod to Sauron in Lord of the Rings, and the hinted at persona of Bill from Kill Bill, where in this Volume 1, it is mentioned a lot and encountered briefly, but only to tantalize the audience for the real showdown in Volume, i.e. Part 2. Lorne Balfe's scores for the Mission Impossible Fallout and this film are perfect. He's combined Michael Giacchino's devotion to Lalo Schifrin's original TV score, as reimagined in Mission Impossible 3, with Hans Zimmer's epic is a pizza topping vibe from Mission Impossible 2, and, just enough Danny Elfman to round off the earworm. Both of his scores so far have grounded the soundscape so richly that you feel that Ethan Hunt's mystique of being the manifestation of destiny is born from some ancient mythology rather than a cartoonishly fun action series. And fun as hell it is. Rebecca Ferguson is brilliant as the only character in the franchise to play a plausible secret agent, who nonetheless seems to love the fact that she's joined Ethan Hunt's flying circus. Simon Pegg's Benji, a human all-terrain Google Maps, watches on with desperate panic. Ving Rhames watches on with a cooler sense of equally desperate panic and wise sage advice, while Tom Cruise runs. Tom Cruise jumps. Tom Cruise makes short, desperate, yet spine-tingling speeches about loyalty. Tom Cruise rides an actual motorbike off of an actual cliff just to entertain the audience. Christopher McQuarrie captures all of this with the same bewilderingly potent consistency as he has since Rogue Nation. Scene after scene, stunt after stunt, film after film. It feels, as this is a two-parter, that it is impossible to say any more without seeing the concluding part. But I do appreciate that of all the franchises to pull off the two-parter finales over the years, this one feels like the best one so far to utilize the gimmick. And I say finale because it has been suggested, billed as, written in Wikipedia, disavowed, and hinted at in the plot that Dead Reckoning Part 2 might be the final Mission Impossible film, or at very least the final Ethan Hunt adventure. If that turns out to be true, and it probably won't, Hunt will be sorely missed. So, whatever film you end up watching, and wherever you end up watching it, I hope it's worth talking about.